If you're over 60 and seeing headlines like senior travel banned in 2026 or your passport will be useless, stop. In this video, I'll expose what's fake, explain the real 2026 rules, real ID, passport validity, Europe's ETIAS, and walk you step by step through exactly how to protect your travel so you're never turned away at the airport. If you're a senior traveler, you've probably seen some alarming claims online. New passport rules in 2026 mean seniors can't fly. Over 70, your passport might be useless. Elderly travelers will be denied at the airport. Let's stop that right now and bring in some clarity. There's a lot of wrong information circulating about so-called senior passport restrictions, age-based travel bans, and emergency rules for people over 65 or 70. Those supposed rules simply do not exist. If you've been losing sleep wondering, can I still travel in 2026? Is my passport suddenly invalid? Are there different rules now because of my age? Take a deep breath. In this video, I'll separate among fact from fiction. Explain exactly what is actually changing in 2025 and 2026. Show you a hot step by step. What you need to do to protect your travel plans. You're watching Immigration Updates Hub, where we base everything on official, verifiable government sources. This video is general information, not personal legal advice. For specific questions about your situation, always consult the relevant government agency or a qualified professional. Let's start with the most important point. No, there are no special passport rules targeting seniors. As of January 2026, there is no U.S. federal law that creates different passport rules just for people over 65 or 70. There is no Buchanan executive order, no USCIS or State Department regulation that says seniors have different passport validity requirements than younger adults. There is lastly, no blanket age-based ban or restriction on older Americans flying or crossing borders. The same passport rules apply to you at 68 or 78 that apply at 28. So where's all this fear coming from? It's coming from several real but age-neutral policy changes happening around the same time. 1. The real upon enforcement deadline for U.S. domestic air travel is long-standing light passport validity, rules in foreign countries. Passport processing delays demand for Europe's upcoming on electronic travel authorization and entry-exit system, EES. 5. State-level on driver's license renewal rules for seniors. 6. Misunderstandings about health and age limits. For flying. When these get mixed together online, people think new senior travel ban. That's wrong. Let's go through each one calmly and clearly. 1. Real ID and domestic air travel in 2025-2026. Starting May 7, 2025, TSA began enforcing the real Adakosani requirement for domestic flights. If you are 18 or older and flying within the U.S., you must present a real ID compliant driver's license or state ID, or another acceptable form of ID, such as a valid U.S. passport or passport card, U.S. military ID, DHS Trusted Traveler Card, Global Entry, Nexus, Sentry, certain federal or tribal IDs. Key point: there are no age exemptions. If you're 18, 48, or 88, the requirement is the same. If your driver's license does not have the real ID star and you try to use it at TSA for a domestic flight, TSA will not accept it as ID for boarding, but that does not mean you cannot fly. For seniors, the simplest solution is often use your valid U.S. passport, Booker card, as your ID for domestic flights. You do not need a real ID driver's license if you are willing to use your passport as your travel ID. TSA. Confirm ID, backup option, not a plan. Starting February 1st, 2026, TSA introduced a program, often called TSA Confirm ID, for travelers who show up with no acceptable ID. You may be able to go through an enhanced identity verification process. There is a fee, around $45. It's valid for a short window, for example, up to 10 days. This is meant as an emergency backup LCI, not your main strategy. The fee is intentionally high to push people toward having proper ID in advance. For seniors, the message is simple. If you still drive and want to use your license, get a real ID-compliant license or ID card from your state DMV. If you prefer a single ID that works everywhere, use a valid U.S. passport model for both domestic and international travel. No one is banning seniors from flying. You just need acceptable ID, exactly like everyone else. 2. The 6-month rule and passport validity. Another major source of confusion is passport validity. For international travel, many countries have what's called a 6-month passport validity rule. This is not my side new. It's been around for years. Depending on the country, the rule often says your passport must be valid for at least 6 months beyond your date of entry or your planned date of departure. Why? Because if your passport expires while you are abroad, it creates serious complications for both you and the country you're visiting. Very important distinctions. These are the rules of foreign countries, not a new U.S. law. They apply to travelers of all ages, not just seniors. How this affects you in practice. If you're planning a trip in 2026, 1. Look at your passport expiry date. 2. Look at your proposed travel dates. 3. Check your destination's rules. Many European countries in the Schengen area, most of Western Europe, typically require your passport to be valid at least 3 months beyond your planned departure date from Europe. Many other countries require 6 months beyond entry or departure. If your passport will expire too soon. Under those rules, your airline can deny you boarding in the U.S., our destination country, can deny you entry even if the airline lets you board. This is why airlines are strict. They can be fined or forced to fly you back if they bring in someone who does not meet entry rules. Re-entering the United States. For U.S. citizens returning home. The U.S. only requires your passport to be valid up to the date of entry. There is no 6-month rule for U.S. citizens to re-enter the U.S., but that does not protect you from the foreign countries' rules or the Yamasi or airlines' enforcement of those rules. Best practice for seniors. The U.S. State Department recommends renewing your passport when it has about 9 to 12 months of validity remaining. For older travelers, this is especially wise. It avoids last-minute renewals, removes stress about whether a country has a 3-month or 6-month rule, keeps all your travel options open. 3. Passport processing times and planning ahead. Another real issue in 2025-2026 is processing time. Based on recent State Department guidance. Routine. Passport processing is typically 4 to 6 weeks from the time your application reaches the passport agency. Expedited service, for a fee, is typically 2 to 3 weeks from receipt, but you must add mailing time. On both ends, up to 2 weeks for your application to reach the agency, up to 2 weeks for the completed passport to be mailed back. Total real-world time can easily be 10 weeks for routine, 5 weeks for expedited. During peak travel seasons or high demand, it can be longer. For urgent needs, the State Department offers urgent travel appointments for travel within about 14 days, life or death emergency appointments for very serious emergencies, often within 3 days of travel. These are only available at regional passport agencies in major cities and can be hard to secure. For seniors, especially if you don't want to rush, don't want to travel long distances to a regional agency, the best strategy is simple. If your passport expires anytime before the end of 2026, strongly consider renewing now, especially if you plan to travel. 4. ETIAS and Europe's new border systems in 2026. Now let's turn to Europe. Two big changes are planned. 1. ETIAS, European Travel Information and Authorization System. 2. IS, Entry Justice Exit System. These apply to many non-EU travelers, including U.S. citizens. Das wires ETIAS. What it is and who it affects. ETIAS is not a visa. It's a such pre-travel authorization. Similar to the U.S. ESTA system, it will be required for visa-exempt travelers like most U.S. citizens visiting about 30 European countries, including most of the Schengen area and some additional countries. Planned timeline based on current EU announcements. ETIAS is expected to launch in the fourth quarter of 2026, October-December. There will likely be a pod transition period. Then it becomes mandatory. Key points for seniors. You will apply online before your trip. You provide personal details, passport info, travel plans, and answer security questions. Most approvals should come in minutes. Some may take a few days. Cost and age exemption. The ETIAS fee is expected to be 20K, around a 20-25, depending on exchange rates. Travelers under 18 and over 70 bus classes are expected to be exempt from the fee. That means many seniors won't pay. But you still must apply and be approved. ETIAS approval will likely be valid for multiple trips, last for several years or until your passport expires, based on current planning. EES, Entry Exit. System EES is a separate system that will replace manual passport stamping at Schengen borders, collect biometric data, like fingerprints and a facial image, automatically track your days in and out of the Schengen area. This is meant to enforce the rule that visa-free travelers, including U.S. citizens, can usually stay up to 90 days in any 180-day period in the Schengen area. EES will apply to all non-EU travelers, regardless of age, at major air, land, and sea entry points. For seniors, what this means in practice: on your first trip, after EES goes live, you may have your fingerprints and photo taken at the border. On later trips, the process should be quicker using your stored data. There is, no age-based chaos or special rule here. Everyone is treated the same. Watch out for fake ETIAS sites. As ETIAS gets closer, many unofficial websites will appear. To protect yourself, only use the official EU ETIAS site once it's live, or links from official government pages, like travel.state.gov. Avoid third-party sites that charge much higher fees, claim to guarantee approval. Senior driver's licenses versus passports, separate issues. Another source of confusion, state-level driver's license renewal rules. For seniors, some U.S. states have more frequent renewal for drivers over a certain age, in-person renewal instead of online, required vision tests at each renewal. These are state DMV rules, not federal passport or travel rules. They do not change your right to hold a U.S. passport, create a travel ban for seniors, directly affect international travel. However, if you use your driver's license as your main ID for flying, and your state has strict renewal rules or removes your license, then you simply need another ID for travel, most easily. A valid U.S. passport. If your license situation is complicated because of age, health, or driving ability, but your passport is valid, You can still fly domestically by using your passport at TSA. 6. Health, age, and airline myths. There is no new U.S. or airline rule in 2026 saying, over a certain age you cannot fly, or seniors need special medical clearance just because of age. What does exist? Airlines always reserve the right to request a main medical clearance if a passenger of any age has a condition that could make flying unsafe or require special in-flight care. This is not new and is not age-specific. In the U.S., the Air Carrier Access Act requires airlines to provide reasonable assistance to passengers with disabilities or reduced mobility, including seniors. Examples: wheelchair service in the airport, help through security and to the gate, pre-boarding, assistance with overhead bags. TSA also offers some accommodations for older travelers. Travelers in Malbo. 75 and older may be allowed to keep shoes and light jackets on during screening, receive modified procedures to reduce stress and physical strain. These measures are there to help seniors, not restrict them. If you're a senior in reasonably good health who has been traveling, nothing in 2026 suddenly changed your right to board an aircraft. 7. Passport renewal for seniors. Same rules as everyone else. The U.S. passport renewal process is the same for seniors as for any other adult. No. Special senior form, senior discount, extra obstacle. If your most recent passport was issued when you were 16 or older, is undamaged, was issued within the last 15 years, is in your current name, or you can prove the name change, and you can usually renew by mail using Form DS-82 bond or the online renewal system if available and you qualify. Fees subject to change. Always check travel.state.gov. Adult passport book renewal around 130 Malaysia. Optional expedite fee 60. Optional 1 to 2 day delivery. Additional postal cost. There are no age-based discounts if you don't meet DS-82 requirements. For example, your old passport is too old or lost. You'll use Form DS-11 and apply in person at a passport acceptance facility, post office, library, county office, etc., or at a passport agency in urgent cases. For seniors who need help with forms, have mobility challenges many communities offer, passport fairs at post offices or libraries, extra assistance at acceptance facilities. In some areas, mobile or outreach services through senior centers. You can search for passport acceptance facilities and services on Travel, State, Gov. Where to apply? If traveling to an office is hard, call the acceptance facility in advance and ask what accommodations they can offer. 8. Passport photos. Common senior mistakes. Passport photos are a frequent cause of delays. Requirements include taken within the last 6 months. Color. On a plain white or off-white background. Facing the camera directly, neutral expression, both eyes open. No heavy shadows, no filters or retouching, no glasses, with very rare medical exceptions supported by a doctor's note. Common senior issues. Reusing an old Nick photo from years ago. Using photos with key glasses being used. Smiling very broadly or turning slightly to the side. Using a home-printed photo that doesn't meet size or quality standards. The easiest way to avoid problems. Have your photo taken at a pharmacy, post office, or photo service. Experience with passport photos. Many passport acceptance facilities can do this on site. For most seniors, the small cost of a professional passport photo is worth it to avoid rejection and delays. 9. Special situations seniors often face. Let's quickly review some common real-world scenarios. Passport book versus passport card. A passport card is wallet-sized. Works for land and sea. Travel between the US, Canada, Mexico, the Caribbean, and Bermuda does not work for Kubikimo Dusni and the international air travel. A country passport book is needed for about all international flights. Works for all countries that admit US citizens. You can have both. Many seniors who cruise or drive to Canada, Mexico like the card, but if you might ever fly abroad, you must have a book. Traveling with grandchildren or minors, passports for children under 16, are valid for 5 years, not 10, require. In-person Buasano applications normally require both parents, not guardians, to be present or to provide notarized consent. If you're a grandparent traveling internationally with grandchildren, the children need their own valid passports. Many countries, including Mexico and Canada, strongly recommend or require a notarized consent letter from the parent stating you are allowed to travel with the child. Check the specific rules for your destination and airline. Name changes. If your name has changed since your last passport, for example through marriage, divorce, or court order, your passport should match your current legal name. On your tickets. If your passport shows an old name, you may need legal documents, marriage certificate, court order, and to renew your passport with the current name. Traveling with mismatched names between tickets and passport can cause problems at check-in and border control. Lost or stolen passport. If your passport is lost or stolen, report it immediately. Complete MENAS Form DS-64 to report loss theft. Apply for a new passport with Form DS Kumanan in person. Once reported lost or stolen, an old passport is canceled and cannot be used, even if you find it later. If this happens while abroad, contact the nearest U.S. embassy or consulate. They can issue an emergency passport, but it may take a few days and require extra documentation, and sometimes police reports. Long stays or medical travel abroad. If you'll be abroad for a long time, for medical care or an extended visit, make sure your passport will be valid for your entire stay, plus any 3 or 6 month validity rule your host country has. Renew before Mayans. Leaving if possible. Renewing abroad can take longer and may leave you temporarily without a passport. 10. What seniors should do right now for 2026 travel. Here's a simple checklist. 1. Find your passport and check expiration date, name spelling, condition, not damaged. 2. If it expires before the end of 2026 or is within 12 months of expiring, start the renewal process now. 3. For domestic air travel. Either real ID, driver's license or state ID, or plan to use your valid U.S. passport as your ID. 4. For international travel, check the most of entry requirements of your destination on travel.state.gov, country information pages. Look for passport validity rules, 3 months, 6 months, visa or ETIS requirements, any health-related entry rules. 5. If you plan to go to Europe late in 2026 or later, monitor official information about ETIS on free. Ease. When ETS opens, apply well before buy your trip. Remember, over 70s may be fee exempt, but you still don't need authorization. 6. Enroll in the PIDOC Smart Traveler Enrollment Program. Step. Free registration at step.state.gov. Lets the nearest U.S. embassy know you're in the country. You receive safety updates and can be contacted in emergencies. 7. Consider travel insurance, especially if you have ongoing medical conditions or you're traveling somewhere with high medical costs. 8. Organize and copy your documents. Passport bio page, driver's license, insurance policy, list of medications and prescriptions, emergency contacts. Keep copies separate from originals or with a trusted family member. 9. Update. Emergency contact info. Fill in the emergency contact section in your passport. Make sure family or friends know your itinerary and how to reach you. 10. Verify online information. For passports and travel.state.gov. For TSA and airport security, tsa.gov. For immigration and visas, uss.gov. For U.S. processes, or official consular sites abroad. For ETIS, use only upon official EU or government links that you once live. 11. Why misinformation is so loud and how to filter it. Scary headlines and dramatic thumbnails get clicks. New ban for seniors. Over 70, you can't travel in 2026. But reality is usually much more boring and rule-based. Real changes like real ID enforcement, ITIS or EES, are announced publicly, discussed for years, implemented with clear timelines, and published on official websites. Governments do not secretly flip a switch overnight and suddenly ban millions of people from traveling without any official notice. So whenever you see claims about sudden age-based bans, emergency rules starting next week, or secret requirements no one has heard of, your first step should be check at official government sources. If you can't confirm it on travel.state.gov, gov. An official foreign government site then treat it as unconfirmed at best or false at worst. 12. Final summary for senior travelers in 2026. Mate. Let's be crystal clear. There are no new passport rules. In 2026, that single out seniors. There are no age-based travel bans starting in January 2026. There are no special fees or passport penalties for being over 65 or 70. What ISMA were real for travelers of all ages is the real ID requirement for domestic air travel, long-standing passport validity rules in foreign countries, normal passport processing timelines and delays, the upcoming ETIS and EES systems for Europe, state-level driver's license rules, separate from passports. If you are a senior planning travel in 2026, your practical checklist is make sure your new passport is valid, well beyond your travel dates. Have a real ID or passport now for domestic flights. Check country-specific entry rules before you book. Apply for ADIAs when it launches if you are going to Europe. Carry necessary health, insurance, and emergency information. Rely on official sources, not viral posts for your information. Age should not and does not have to limit your ability to see the world. Millions of seniors travel safely every year. With up-to-date documents and accurate information, you can too. If this breakdown helped replace anxiety with clarity, consider subscribing to Immigration Updates. Hub. Here we verify information against official sources. Explain complex travel and immigration rules in plain language. Help you make informed decisions about your trips and documents. Share this video with any senior traveler in your life who's worried about 2026 travel. The best antidote to fear is accurate information. Travel safely, travel informed, and we'll see you in the next update. If you're over 60 and seeing headlines like senior travel banned in 2026 or your passport will be useless, stop. In this video, I'll expose what's fake, explain the real 2026 rules, real ID, passport validity, Europe's ETIAS, and walk you step by step through exactly how to protect your travel so you're never turned away at the airport.